with us one of the vice presidents of the New Democratic Party. Very powerful speaker, very down to earth. And he's here with us tonight. I want the people of Polyard, the footballers, the sports people, the hard-working people, the scholars, to put your hands together and give a warm welcome. I introduce them simply as the Major. Put your hands together for the Major.
People are moving and murmuring to myself, wish it never had to be the way I see this world running shouldn't have to be. Cause now every man's cup is filled with hate and overflowing. Father, I know things are going wrong, yeah. It's wickeder than before. We really checked so we could have run things, but it don't look so anymore, no.
Come down, Father. Come down. Thank you very much, Chairman Burt. Good night, Lady of the Night. Senator Bacchus-Baptiste, my old-time schoolmate, friend, and clearly, by any stretch of the imagination, one of St. Vincent's most qualified and professional person who has lived a life of service in this, our blessed land. But you have introduced me tonight in a way that those in Radio Land and those within earshot and those here in Polyard are perhaps expecting a particular kind of message. I'm not setting out to disappoint, but I am tonight, especially for those of you who are listening to me on radio, a little bit different. And I want you to be patient with me because I'm also going to take some risk in one or two things that I may say. Last night, I was in Vermont and I was supporting my parliamentary colleague, the nature boy, Nigel Nature Stevenson, in the area of his birth, Vermont, where he doesn't win. And that's interesting because very, very often we see the story, as the Bible says, a prophet has no honor in his own homeland. But last night I was a little disturbed because the meeting was held next to a shop, and because we had got there a little early, a number of us went and patronized the shop. Truth be told, we didn't look for color, we weren't concerned about order, and politics didn't drive our decision. And before you say Jack Robin, we buy out the shop. Well, maybe in a sense, when you work backwards, the owners didn't expect us to come into the shop because, as we would discover, they are labor. So they didn't even stock the shop. You understand the psychology? That is how far and deep the culture is in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A big crowd is going to be here, but they're not going to come here because everybody knows this is a labor shop. Well, NDP don't think that way. NDP is a St. Vincent for all Vincentians. But what was disgusting about it? That's in the middle of patronizing the shop. The owner, and I want to get back to him because it must hurt him, put on his labor shirt and go over the counter. I don't know if it's to intimidate us or to say we're not welcoming in the shop or to show that I have to support me because you ain't nowhere else to go, but you can't buy me out. Whatever it is, it didn't go down the right way. And when I got my opportunity to speak, I deliberately chose not to address the NDP people and supporters who were in the crowd in Vermont listening to the meeting. In fact, I said, I have to disappoint you tonight. Tonight I will speak to my labor friends. Yes, my labor friends. Because NDP is for all Vincentians. But more than my labor friends, I wanted to speak to him personally. Because he needed to come to grips with the fact that where he was doing business, and I said this to him, as it is now in February, if we come back there in December, that shop, that street, that neighborhood, that village, that community will be in the same set place, even though we just passed a budget a week ago. Not one thing will change or transform his life or that of his neighbors. And that's the truth. Budget after budget after budget, and the lives of people remain the same way. And I can say the same thing here tonight. We just passed $1 billion budget last week. Do you think $1 coming here in Poliad? Not a single red cent. At the end of the year, you'll still be by the standpipe, drinking water, dehumanizing you. And that's where I want to start. And that's the conversation I want to have. Sister K, very often when we as politicians mount a political platform, we speak in a generic way. We speak in a general way. We speak in a catch-all way. And sometimes hope that what we say fits the particular audience that is in front of us. And it fits it in a good way, and that our message is received. But those of us who are of trained minds sometimes need to step back and say, you know, and you did much of that tonight, Sister K, to your credit. We have to treat every community, every village, every street, every set of people by their own particular sets of circumstances. And if you don't do that, you cannot address it. And so I ask you to be patient with something the Major is going to say. A lot will be offended, but the good thing, at my stage and at my age, I am at absolute peace with myself. They know nothing. Whether you CAMP, ULP, Green P, or anybody could say, they're going to upset the Major. What may I accomplish ain't going to happen again. I give God thanks and praise for the goodness he has done to me. And he has been extremely good to the Major. But here's the major message. This area is called Poliad. The first meeting I did for these small community meetings was held in Lago Heights in an area called the Big Yard. There's another place in St. Vincent called Big Yard too, no? It's in Bruce's constituency, in Greg's, called Big Yard. A man down there, I'm talking the truth. Why does Major speak about that? This humble servant here, speaking to you tonight as a vice president, speaking to you tonight as the representative for Central Kingston, the city, the capital of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, was born in a yard. I was born in a place called Nanton Yard, up street, Long Wall, opposite Miss Cheverton, where Gravesden park the vehicle now. And you know why I mentioned that? Because at the time that I was born in Nanton Yard, even my family may not be happy with my conversation, but this is my catharsis. there were only really three very poor communities in Kingston. Up street, where I was, Nanton Yard, Paulslat, or as they say Parlat, they now say Paul's Avenue, and Bottom Town, now to they call what? Rose Place. And basically, if you are born in town in those days and you came from upstreet, Parlat, and Bottom Town, nothing good was expected of you. Are you with me? Sooner rather than later, if you end up on the port as a stevedore or some other thing, you're going to die early because it's either you're going to be in trouble with the law, with the police, or you're going to make a jail, or you're going to get locked up, your head going to get bust up, and all kind of things can happen to you. The same thing for Paul's Lot and downtown. Thank God. Thank God the Almighty. The wisdom of my father, at the first opportunity, he moved us out of Nanton Yard and took us to Montrose, which was a middle-class area. I'm sharing the story for a good reason, you know, because I want to come back to where we are here in Pole Yard. When you are living in a particular community, it as a result of consequences and circumstances. And the first thing that governments must understand, you are here because the government and society failed you. That's why the majority of you are here. Failed you in very many ways. With our women, very often, they needed an opportunity 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 10 times. And as I like to put it, flesh no better than flesh. And sometimes some of our so-called poorest women could have been anything had they met the right man in their life and at the right time. Opportunities, changes, circumstances. Apart from that, many of our people have not been provided the right set of jobs and opportunities to make an honest living. But what the people in Pole Yard did, as happened in many other underprivileged societies, they decided to help themselves and make something of themselves. So as Sister Casey, even the Prime Minister was admit that too. We ain't better than nobody, but not a single soul better than we. Are we together? So it is left now that to the extent that you have been prepared to help yourself, that the government and society turns around and help you. But here's the difference. You have, through great ingenuity, creativity, initiative, drive, resilience, hard work, dedication, determination, survival skills, street smart, made something of yourself in this community. And what is your reward? They take you for granted. But very many people who have done not a single thing to help themselves, you have them in housing scheme. You have them in no income, low income, middle income, and all kind of income housing. In fact, if you go and look at some of the development schemes they have, people who retired as commissioners of police, permanent secretary, chief executive, this, that, and the other, the more you have, the more that has been showered upon them. The New Democratic Party says, in our basic needs approach, development begins with people. We are not about the business, although it is necessary at times to give a handout. But it is far more important as a political party that we give you a hand up. Bend over. As you stretch your hand, we hold it firmly, solidly, honestly, and honestly, and pull you up so that where horse reach, donkey also can reach. And so that every boy and girl, every man, woman and child in Polyard can be the next major and representative of Central Kingston in the city. You hear what I tell you? I'm going to say two more things for those who are upset what I'm going to say. Because this has been a long journey, you know. I remember, because I had come from a dispossessed and an underprivileged community. When I got to the grammar school, in those days it was 48 of us went there. Some people still felt that even though you pass to come in here, you are still not our equal. Are you with me? One day, one of my friends came to my mother's home at Montrose. And she gave him some milk and sweet biscuit. I don't ever forget it. Because Polyard reminds me of these stories. And he broke up that biscuit from Montrose to the General Hospital. And when I came to school the next day, you know what he said? Leacock want me eat from his mother hand. You heard the conversation? That was the degree of contempt and scorn that in our society we're having one set of category of people and another class of people. It would not be the last time that I face discrimination. Okay, don't get uncomfortable or anybody in my conversation. Because when in that same grammar school, I worked my way up from the bottom to the top in the most prestigious organization St. Vincent had at the time for young people, the Cadet Force. And I was to become the ADC to the Governor General. That's the person who walks and accompanies the ADC. They did not appoint me. They said my family background was too poor. They took somebody who had nothing to do with the cadets and they made him the ADC. As God is my witness, I eventually became the commandant, and many would say, it's not for me to argue, the best commanding officer the cadet force ever had in the history of this country, transforming it. Yours truly. Today, my children don't like me to bring them into the picture. My brothers, all of them, became commanding officers, officers in charge of the cadet band, went on to become officers in the cadet force. My youngest brother is a doctor. My son, who also became in charge of the same cadets, went through and today is a major in the world's finest fighting force, the Marines of the United States of America. From the bowels of poor people picnic to the highest heights of success you can have for Vincentians. That is to suggest that given the opportunity, all of us can reach somewhere. That, brothers and sisters, is my mark. That's what separates me from the Labour Party. That's what have me as a member of the New Democratic Party, as one who is committed to a life of sacrifice, development of the poor, downtrodden, to make sure that success comes the way of all of us. That's the major for you. Who is uncomfortable? That's the truth. You got to live with it. I don't have to make any amends for it. So where do I go with that story as I use my time wisely? St. Vincent today is at a crossroads. It is at a crossroads where after 19 years going 20, our people do not believe in themselves. Our people are yet to learn to love and respect themselves. You can't have in a country where generation after generation we genuflect, bow down, kiss the hands, kiss the feet, and represent and project some other people as better than ourselves and refuse out of hand to come off of the estate, to come off of the plantation. Should never happen. And it means that to carry St. Vincent forward in the year 2020 requires serious introspection. You know what I mean by that? Look inwards at yourself. Love yourself. Believe in yourself. And do not give your life away to those whose bread is buttered, and in some cases buttered on both sides. That's the message. That's the message. And that's the choice. So here, how you begin to separate the sheep from the goat. I came and offered service to the New Democratic Party when it was in opposition. And Ralph, ULP, was roaring strong, like lava from a mountain, burning everything in its sight. Bacchus-Baptiste, with toothpick in our eyes, wide open, with enough to feed ourselves, have said, I want to be on the right side of history. She could have made a different choice. She could have gone and put her mouth at the trough. But she said she will join the opposition, New Democratic, for the purpose of improving the lot and life of the poor and downtrodden, to which she was always committed. You see the same thing in Bruce, in Nature, in Patel, in Daniel Cummings, in Dr. Friday, in Noel Dixon, and so many others who could have jumped on a gravy train. And you have to compare and contrast that with some others who feel they have a right and an entitlement. And not just a right and an entitlement, but that they could ignore principle and insult you to the point that you will forget your yesterday for a promise tomorrow. The gentleman who is going to run against Bacchus-Baptiste, I am not in the business of calling people names. I am not in the business of running down people. I don't say and do things to make myself or my colleagues look good by destroying others. But I state the facts. He is a historian. He knows the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Never, never in the history of this country have we seen as many young people on the front pages of our newspapers week after week after week for crime and violence. It has been at its highest high over the last 19 years. He is in a movement, the Teachers Union, which has not been able to negotiate for the very teachers for the last 15 years. Next week they're promising to do that. Collective bargaining died under this administration. He watched what happened to Otto Sam, a teacher, head teacher, taken from there and sent to Nemo. He watched what happened to Daniel, Johnson, and Bash, treated unfairly, had to take years of the courts to correct it. He himself said that he don't know how he would live, having worked at the grammar school. And when he leaves, he must wait till 63, 4, or 5 to get a pension, and he don't know how he will make it. He watched the abuse and crime and violence on our women in this country, and he turns a blind eye. He sits and listens to a government that says only 2% of this country are indigent and poor. What he means by that? If you find 100 people, only 2 of them poor. Can you imagine somebody telling you that? That if I see line up 100 people, only 2 of them will be poor? Where people getting the tenant and tenant in this country? You understand where I'm coming from? In this country, none of you here, I don't have to ask you, I'm telling you, well, it don't apply. I take it back. I take it back because the guy said, none of you can't pay water bill, light bill, phone bill one time. But you get away. You have no water bill for pay. So you might make it. You understand? But the average Vincentian can't do that when the month come. Am I wrong? In this country, there are very few people, more than half of this country, don't work for a salary of $1,500 a month. Those are facts. Much of the problems in this country that we see, the social unrest, the social decay, the decadence in this country is a consequence of our men not being able to get work and to have the dignity and pride to look after the women and their children, especially the girl children. Look at what has become of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Too many of our people have had to take the belly and make boat. 5,000 in Canada. What does that mean? Mother separated from father, brother from sisters, aunt from uncles and children. Homes divided. Eking out a living in Anguilla, in Antigua, in Barbados, in Trinidad, wherever you can find it. And on every single occasion, what does it mean? Divided, disunited families. The New Democratic Party says there's an alternative. And I only want to speak about two of those alternatives tonight that I address. One, throughout the Caribbean, all those who are better than us, Antigua, St. Kitts Nevis, Grenada, Dominica, St. Lucia, every one of them are earning in excess of $200 million a year. Some as much as $400, $700 million a year from a program called Citizenship by Investment. What it means is for people who apply to live in their country have to pay down $250,000. Just think of what Major just said. And let me break it down to you. If you wanted a passport tomorrow in St. Vincent, you can apply and you can pay what? About $150. And you can get a passport. In those countries, people are prepared to spend $250 million to apply. They don't know if they're going to get it, to apply. And if they apply and they get the permission, they then have to make an investment of another 200, 300 million. So in order for them to become a citizen, they end up spending nearly $500,000, in some cases $1 million in a country to become a citizen. And what the ULP says, me not sell passport. Well, you don't sell passport because when you wake up in this morning and you pass gas and you go by your breakfast table, your meal is there. You go down and you come back 12 o'clock, another meal is there. You come in the night, a meal is there. But in many communities, they buy a candle for tonight, present please. 2 tea bag, present please. A bag of bread for $2, present please. And tomorrow we start over again. Am I lying? We live in many places day to day. Now I'm telling you, hand to mouth, or like the government, hungry belly. Like them, hungry belly. I'm putting it to you that if we adopt, embrace, and facilitate such a program in this country, there would not be an unemployed person in Poliard. Not an unemployed young lady. Look at how beautiful and sexy they are. Look at them there. None better than them. I beg your pardon. You understand me? Because in this country, all masons will be employed. All carpenters will have jobs. All plumbers will have jobs. All painters, wire benders, electricians, gardeners, cooks. Tokyo will have work. Middle Street will be full. Cereals will be selling. Supermarkets will be overflowing. The little shops there will be fledgling. And people's lives will be blossoming because the money is turning over and we are getting better by the day. That's what the NDP is saying. The second program coming out of this year's budget, which separates the New Democratic Party, is Clair, of vision and thinking of thought. They said they can get $45 million to buy, to use from a fund they call IDA. World Bank funds. 45 years to pay it back at less than 0.5% interest. Well, if you're getting free money, have sense now. Make the money used for people betterment. I say in this country of ours, and that's my party's position, we have hundreds and thousands of people who have a mango tree, a passion fruit, guava, soursop, whatever it is. Let us begin to put down a sizable factory and process the food that over 10,000 people could eat a bread. Let the young ladies from here throw the little handbag over the hand. Spray up themselves with a nice little cologne cream down. Jump in the van or the little car and move off in a day to a factory or a processing plant with pride and with dignity. You don't want that? You want to perpetuate a country and mothers have to sell daughter? Man live in house with the same mother, same daughter. That's a St. Vincent for we? Come on, man. How much longer you want us to live in a prostitutional relationship in St. Vincent? An incestual relationship? I say in simple language to Paul Yard, love yourself. Love yourself in the next general election. Don't worry what the yellow, the red, blue, green, cream, or whatever it is. Love yourself. Be the best person you can be to yourself so that generations unborn could say that when that time came, you made that decision that protected and provided for them. Good night, God bless you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to me.
Yeah, let's put all